What's up, folks? It's Coach Beard. Welcome back to Athletes Lab and our podcast, Outside the Lab, episode 22, brought to you by the Performance Center and powered by Under Armour. I can't tell you how excited I am to bring on today's guest. We're going kind of a different route. We've talked to a lot of coaches and people who are outside of their playing days and their playing career. Today, we're bringing on a current player, a guy that everybody listening will be very familiar with, a guy that I've had the pleasure to coach for 4 years. Be around and really watch him mature as a player, a person, and very excited about all the great things he's done. We'll get into that, I'm sure, on the show. But tonight's guest for episode 22, Bryce Stober, a Hickory High School product and current catcher at LR. Bryce, welcome to the show, bud.
Thanks, Coach Beard. I'm excited to be on here and honored you guys asked me.
Absolutely, man. We talk to our players all the time in Athletes Lab about different perspectives but it's different when it's coming to a guy who hadn't played in a decade. So we want to hear from a player who's right in the midst of all this. Again, very, very happy to have you on. Normally we start off with a background. I'm going to skip that because most folks I would say are pretty familiar with you and your background. And we'll touch on things as we go. But I'm going to hop right into it, man. So Hickory High product. Let's talk about playing two sports all the way through in high school. And I'm sure played many more growing up, but really focused on football and baseball. Talk about that two-sport mentality, playing quarterback for 4 years at Hickory, and leadership qualities, kind of how all that helped you along your path.
Well, I've always been one that I can't sit still, whether it's working or playing sports or doing something like that. And so I've always loved playing every sport, just getting out and being a competitor. And so that was my mindset. A lot of people think about, it seems like today's age, a lot of people are thinking about, specializing in one sport or doing this or that. But, I've always thought go and play as many sports as you can, that your schedule allows and that you can do at a high level. And I was thankfully blessed with the opportunity to be able to play both football and baseball in high school. And I think the biggest thing that comes from that is the competitiveness, because sometimes whenever you're in a long off season, you kind of lose that competitive edge. But being able to, play competitive sports all year round just keeps that drive and that work ethic. And when you're competing for something, whether it's a Friday night football game or a baseball game or a basketball game in the winter, you have that drive and that work ethic to put in hard work every single day, which just helps a little more.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. And again, several of these college coaches who have come on have echoed that message. And Coach Stewart from Mercer the other week was talking about the importance of guys playing multiple sports. And I agree, man. The way I look at it is, hopefully, Lord willing, you guys have got long lives ahead of you. You can only play ball for so long, man. So play it while you can, enjoy it, play them all. And you're spot on with the competitive aspect. I mean, constantly competing, and that's kind of your MO, man. We'll get into that. Talking about competing for jobs early on in your career, both in high school and college. But a competitive nature. And even Coach Wooden. You think about Coach Wooden's pyramid of success at the very top is competitive greatness. So. Very cool stuff there. Let's talk about this within those two sports. So you're catching primarily in baseball, quarterback in football. Talk about being that field general in both sports, being a coach on the field, if you will, leadership. How that ties into both sports you were playing.
So that aspect is something that I was blessed with. I just have always been kind of an outspoken, outgoing person, but I think it can definitely be learned, even if someone isn't like that. But I've just always just tried to, I think it starts with energy. That's what someone always taught me. And I think that's something when I played for you, we always talked about, for Post 48 was just energy and bringing the energy. And it's hard to have energy being silent, in my opinion. You can demonstrate and be a leader without words, but I think coming out every day, energy, just trying to get people fired up, and that that just brings life to the team. And it's a lot easier to win a baseball game or a football game or a basketball game, whatever it is, whenever people are excited, want to be there, rather than when they're dragging. And I think that might be the biggest thing is having that feel for when something needs to be said and then when it doesn't need to be. And that's something that I learned while I was in college is like I said, I was always bouncing off the wall like, here we go, let's go guys, like talk to the pitcher, talk to my teammates. And you know, to an extent it's good, but I was almost talking too much. And I had to learn how to be a almost not a silent leader, but I had to tone back my my I don't want to say tone back my enthusiasm, but I had to make sure that what I was saying was always going to be beneficial and it wasn't just white noise
That's
in
right.
the mix. And I think that's something that can be learned because uh, I think I even had people tell me that kids on other teams said they didn't like playing against me just from the aspect that I would never be quiet. I was always yelling or screaming or something like that. And uh, I think that finding the middle ground between not saying anything and then never stop talking, I think finding that middle ground and what works best for the team is what really helps. And it's going to be different for every team,
Right.
you know? And like me going going into college, I'm back at the bottom of the totem pole catching guys who have been there for 4 or 5 years. So, I have to change my approach when trying to be a leader and trying to help them because for one pitcher or one teammate, one thing might work better than another teammate. And you just have to, I think as part of the field general, that's what I learned is I knew I could talk to my running back one way, but I had to talk to my lineman another way. And you had to find what that works for so that you can bring the whole team together and make it work as a whole.
That's awesome, man. And you hit on so many points there, and I think you're right. There's certainly a middle ground that has to be found as a leader of a team. You're right. In one sense, you can't sit there and say anything. There's a difference in a guy who and these guys, they're going to do everything right. They're going to be on time. They're going to give you everything they've got. They're going to play hard. They're going to work hard, but they're never going to say a word. And sure, there's leading by example, and that's necessary. You got to have those guys. But true leadership to me is a guy who is going to do all those things, but is also going to bring guys along with them. We're going to go get those guys who aren't fitting our standards, and we're going to bring them on board with us. But there's also that balance. It can't be constant, like you're saying. At a certain point, it becomes white noise. People they constantly hear that. And I think you've done a fantastic job of finding that middle ground and knowing, this is when it's needed, so that more than anything, when you do have that voice, it's impactful and it's meaningful, and guys know, hey, here's our guy. He feels strong enough to say something. It means something right now. We got to go. So absolutely. And by the way, I don't know if you ever plan on coaching, but that last segment right there, dude, you are spot on in the coaching realm. So that was perfect. Let's talk about this with football, because I know, as a freshman and as a junior, you battled through some injuries. Had a hip injury that sidelined you through the winter, and even was kind of tough getting started going into baseball season. And then in your junior year had an ankle injury. So we've got several guys. Julian's coming back from an ACL injury. We got Dalton Chapman over at Bunker Hill coming back from ACL. Landon Harris has got an ankle injury. Guys are, there's more, but guys are nursing injuries and trying to come back. Talk about the mindset you had as you're working back from an injury, and kind of, always having something to look forward to, something to work through, and kind of what was your mindset during those times?
I think the first thing and the most important thing, and a lot of these, I had a lot of good help along the way with this time because it's tough. Anytime you're not playing, it's extremely hard. And I was blessed to have a great support system, being my mom and dad and my coaches. But I think the biggest thing that I think, and it takes nothing to do but just being a good teammate, even though you can't play. It's easy, when you're on crutches, or you know you can't throw. It's easy to miss a practice and say, well, I can't do anything, so why should I be there? Or it's easy to just kind of feel sorry for yourself and not encourage those teammates, especially in season time. I think being there for your teammates is probably the first and most important thing that you can do uh, while an injury. Plus, it keeps your mind in the game, in the season, so that when you are ready to come back, you're ready to go, and it's not like you've been away for 6 weeks or however many it is. So I think that's probably the first and most important thing. And then freshman year, I dislocated my hip, and then junior year, I fractured my ankle. Both of these were at the beginning of the season, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to play. Junior year, I was able to come back and play the last game of the season. And to me, I hate, like I said at the beginning, I hate sitting around and not doing anything. And so there are things you can do to make yourself better, uh, whether it's mental reps, isolating the muscles that you can work out. Uh, I don't know if it's just I'm hard headed, but I would I had a cast on my leg when I fractured my ankle, and I would drive to the I was able to drive I was able to drive. The cast didn't get in the way of that. I would drive to the gym before school, work out my upper body, and then go go to school and go to practice, because I hated sitting around, and I knew I could improve my upper body. So find something that you can work out and do that, so that you're not going backwards.
Yep.
And then the third and most important thing is stick to the rehab program, and
That's
do
huge.
that as much as you can, and do exactly what the doctor says, because they do know what they're talking about. They went to a school for a while for that, and if you do what they said, whatever part of that body it is, more than likely is going to come back even stronger than when you did get hurt.
Yep.
And
That's
a lot of times the strength wasn't there, and might be why you did get hurt. So you see a lot of kids, you know, come back too soon. They feel like, oh, I'm in week 5 out of 6 of my rehab program. I'm ready to start playing. But that's not exactly always what you need to do. Stick to that rehab program, do every single rep, even though it's not fun, and you're going to come back more than likely stronger than when you did get hurt.
That's right. That's awesome, man. There's the blueprint. Guys who are going through this, there it is, from a guy who's been there firsthand. Trust the doctors, right? 6 to 8 weeks means 6 to 8 weeks. There's a reason that they prescribe that. They know what's going on. Finding ways to get better. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. Just because my foot's in a cast don't mean my upper body can't be worked. Don't mean I can't get the mental reps. Don't mean I can't, read, listen to a podcast, whatever. And then, importantly too, and I try to convey this message to all our guys who are battling injuries is you're still just as much a part of this team injured as you are healthy. And you talk about coming back and chemistry being there. That's not easy if you're not in the building, if you're not at practice, if you're not around the guys. So I think those three things are fantastic pieces of advice to all our guys. All right, man, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get into your recruiting process. Everybody knows, obviously, you landed at LR, had a fantastic first year. Let's talk about how all that came about, and maybe let's go down this route, because I mean you certainly did things. Played Legion ball for 4 years, state games twice. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
State games twice, PBR events. I mean, you did what you needed to do to get your name out there. But maybe more than anything, man, like you were really good at just being where your feet are. If I'm in a Legion game in Haywood County tonight, I'm going to be the best guy on that field. I'm going to be the best Bryce Stober that I can be, whether somebody's here or not. So Talk about kind of that balance of there's things you got to do to self-promote, but at the same time, like be the best version of you where you're at tonight. And I think you did a fantastic job of that going through high school.
Well, thank you for that. And I had a lot of great help along the way to help me do that. But I think that's a great point. A lot of kids that you see going through the recruiting process, they want to turn it on when the scouts are there, and they'll go through the motions when someone's not. But just because it's and I think a lot of that's mentality, but just because it's maybe a consolation game or something, there's no reason for you not to give it 100% every game, because coaches have connections like you don't know.
That's right.
Every coach across the nation has different ways to connecting people, and you don't know who's in the stands, whether, LR's head coach's, best friend's son is playing at that game and says, "Hey, I saw a kid there." You never know. And then if you play that way every single day, when you get to those showcase camps, or you get to the Powerade State games, or you're at a PBR event, or if the scouts are in the stands, you're not trying to be something you're not. You're not trying to turn it on. You're not trying to make it happen. It's just you're playing your game of baseball.
That's right. It's who you are all the time.
Exactly. You're doing what you need to do. And I think probably the biggest piece of advice when it comes to recruiting is go where you're wanted. I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to that. A lot of kids might have, walk-on offers, partial spots. A lot of kids have the mid-major D1s where they say, hey, you might be a guy your sophomore, junior year. And then you might have a D2, D3, and a IA saying, hey, I want you to be our guy. Like that, in my opinion, is the most important thing is go where you are wanted, because that's where you're gonna flourish the most. And because you see a lot of people, end up at a, maybe a D1 school, then it just doesn't seem to work out. They enter the portal, end up transferring somewhere and have a great career, and everybody's path is different depending on how you get there. I didn't ever think I was going to be a Bear. Growing up in Hickory, I was like, no way am I staying in Hickory. I'm going somewhere else, but after I reviewed what I was offered, I was like, these guys want me, and this is where I can be most successful and have a great support system here. I think it's just where can you be the most successful and flourish the most.
That's awesome, man. Talking about fit, and I think that's really important for our guys to hear. And I'm glad you went there. It's not always about the grandeur of Division I. And like you're saying, if I'm a D1 guy, maybe as a junior or a senior, that's something I got to evaluate. Versus I can go, like you're saying, I can go D2 right now and have a chance to compete for a job right away. That means a lot. Players want to play, bottom line.
Yep.
And the other thing is there's so many factors that go into it. Who's got your major, all these different things, the actual campus, the environment. Don't forget, you got to live there for 4 years. You got to be a part of that campus. But the other thing too is, dude, there's so much good baseball around here outside of the D1 ranks. You think about, you guys didn't play a full season, I know, but the SAC, the Peach Belt, all these Conference Carolinas. You think about Catawba, North Greenville, USC Aiken, the list goes on. There's good baseball around here, man.
There is.
So, for folks to kind of turn their nose up to that. That's just foolish. So really glad that you hit on that. While we're talking about recruiting, gotta have you tell this story. Grant tells our guys at the facility all the time, talking about, there's a big push with the weight room at Athletes Lab. He talks about, and you'll obviously tell it better than I will, so I want you to. But there was a time when you were going to Grant, you guys were hitting, you guys were training, and you asked him for the 20th time about recruiting. And he says something like, "Don't come talk to me again about recruiting until your body changes." Talk about that maybe eye-opening experience to hear that, and then what you did to go change your body. Because anybody who has seen you over the past 5 years has seen a total transformation in your body. So tell that story for us, and maybe hit on the importance of the weight room for our guys.
Right. I think, I was I've always been a smaller kid, and but I wanted schools to be interested in me. I wanted someone to, look at me, and I was doing everything I thought I needed to do, and as we all know, Grant's gonna tell you how it is, and he finally told me, like, dude, you gotta. I think I remember almost the exact words. He's like, you gotta look like you can compete. I mean, my arms might have been this big around, my legs just about the same, and he's like, until you get in the weight room and you start putting muscle on, I mean, it's not gonna. Coaches, they do the eye test before they even see you play, and a lot of times, if you don't pass the eye test, they won't even think about you when they're making notes on their paper, and that really hit home, like, and that was about the time whenever I was looking at myself and I looked at the people around me, and it was a big eye-opening experience, and I there's a lot of things I had to do. Sorry about that. One second. But so the biggest thing I did was just get in the weight room and push-ups, sit-ups. At night before I go to bed, my dad, he would always tell me, do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups before you go to bed. And that's what I started doing. And I would find times to work out, whether it was after football practice, weightlifting during school. And I'm still not exactly where I need to be, but I think the constant effort to lift and to work out, and the biggest thing, and what I still struggle to this day with, is eating, and eating right. And I just it's tough, especially with a lot of kids who are good athletes. They have fast metabolisms, and you put down 2,000-3,000 calories and you burn it just walking outside. And you gotta find ways to get those calories in. And my mom helped me a lot with that, where it was wake up in the morning, protein shake, peanut butter banana sandwich at lunch. And it's just almost, I don't like to use the term force feed, but it's almost what you got to do. You got to get those calories in. You got to get more calories in than you're burning. So that's what I did. And like I said, I'm still not where I need to be. I'm still taking that mindset every day to gain weight and get to my body where it needs to be successful. And so that's the biggest thing, weight room. That's it. To sum that all up into short, weight room and eating.
That's
and
right.
Those are two things that I still have to get on myself and make sure I'm doing properly every day to get where I need to be.
That's awesome. And anybody who knows Bryce, and by the way, Grant always follows up the story with this. Anybody who knows Bryce knows that as soon as Grant said that, Bryce is going to work, right? Bryce is going to do what he's got to do, and that's what guys have to. Both of those things, they're tough now. They require discipline, but both of those things are in your control. The
Yes.
weight room's over there at the facility. Yep. Go use it, right?
Yes.
Eating is in your control, and that eating, man, that's so important. You talk about you can lift all you want if you're not fueling yourself right. You're really spinning your wheels, and this too, being on campus. It gets tough, man, because somebody. My dad said this as I was going through, kind of where you're at, and it's the truth. Somebody's always wanting to do something on campus. Hey, man, let's run the cookout. Hey, man, let's go do this. And next thing you know, I've eaten cookout for lunch. I've been to, who knows where for dinner, and there goes that fuel and that nutrition. So discipline in the diet is one thing that I would say. The other thing too, and I try to mention this, particularly to our older guys. You talk about the importance of the weight room, you and your LR guys are in and out all the time. There's other college guys, there's some pro guys coming in, and I would say 90% of the time or more, when you guys walk in the facility, first place you go, weight room, every time. It ain't a secret. Bryce is going to hit, Bryce is going to throw, Bryce is going to catch pins, but you guys are going straight to the weight room first. Because it's important, it's a priority, and it matters. So, so glad that you're echoing that message to our guys. Last thing I would say, and you're a true testament to this. The game doesn't discriminate. It's one of the best things about baseball, right? You can be 5'8". Who cares? But you can't be 5'8" and 120 pounds. You got to be 5'8", and like you're saying, look the part. Be strong enough to compete. So kudos to you for changing your body and doing those things. But like you said too, and I want our guys to hear this, it's constant. It never ends, right? You're constantly in that fist fight of daily discipline as you work through this. All right, let's turn to your first year on campus now. So you're a year under your belt, not a full season obviously, but a year on campus, in the weight room, in the system. Talk about those first couple months on campus. You think you're ready. You think there's nothing that can truly prepare you for those first couple months. So talk about kind of your experience, and then maybe what advice you would give a high school guy about doing all he can to be ready when he steps foot on campus day one.
The first thing is, you hear this from coaches, especially guys that have played college baseball. And, you always hear college athletics is a job. No matter what level you're at, it's a job. And you're like, okay, yeah. I've played sports. I've handled a job. It is what it is. But once you step on campus and from the get-go, it's a job. It's, a normal schedule for the LR Bears was during the fall, it was wake up, 4:45, you got lift at 5:30, you come back, you shower, you eat breakfast, you go to class, you eat lunch, you go to class, and then you go to practice, you leave practice, eat dinner, and then you go to study hall, and then once study hall's over, you come back, you go to bed because you got to get up at 4:45 the next morning. And it was tough. It was tough for a lot of us just making that transition. But by about week 3, it just was routine.
Yep.
And one thing that was great about my team and my experience is I'm speaking for myself, but I think I can speak for a lot of my teammates. We were excited and ready to go to practice. We were ready to go lift because we had fun. Sure, waking up at 4:45, 5 o'clock, rolling out of bed, walking across the parking lot in 30 degrees wasn't always fun. But when you got in there, you were with your team, you were excited to see everybody. Practice is like the best time of your day. And I think that's something that you guys can look forward to at the collegiate level is the team aspect of college sports is unlike any team that you've ever been on. Cherish these times with these teams in high school and these showcase teams because they're special. I still got, memories for when I was playing for Coach Beard. But these college teams are just like you're with these people just about every single second of the day, and they really do become your family, and that takes your game to a whole nother level because your buddy to the right and left of you are working hard, so you're going to work hard too. And I think it really helps to elevate your game. And if you're not, your team's there to help you, but everybody's still getting better. And so it's hard to play catch up in college athletics.
Yeah, that's awesome, man, and that camaraderie, that's so special. You're right. I mean, I hadn't been in college in 7 years now, but I'm still in a group text with 5 or 6 of those guys. We probably talk daily. Can tell you where every one of them's at. What's going on with their families, Snapchat, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And one thing about it is, you go to college to play ball. Immediately, you've got 40 buddies. That quickly become brothers. And a lot of that, like you're saying, it is because of the time that you spend together. You guys are always around each other, in the calf, at practice. It never ends. But a big part of that is, those bonds get formed because of the work you put in together, right?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
They're the guys with you at 5 a.m. working out. They're the guys with you in the cages, at 9 o'clock after classes, after practice all day. So that the idea that work brings people together, that's huge when it comes to that. So awesome stuff. Let's talk about this, because one of the things about you, man, no matter if it was high school ball, if it was Legion ball, now in college, like you find a way on the field. You know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget, Legion, my second year as a head coach at the Legion, we got tryouts. Had obviously seen you at the Easter tournament, and in comes this 14-year-old kid, skinny as a rail. I was like, hey, 12U tryouts are over there. Nah, just kidding. But anyway, in comes Bryce, got a catching bag bigger than he is. And I'm like, eye contact, shakes my hand. Hey, Coach Beard, ready to try out. Let's do it. I told Wyatt and Wyndham and Mark and those dudes, I said, that guy's going to find a way in our lineup. I guarantee it. All right. Lo and behold, a couple weeks later, I think we go down to Rowan, right? Get a spot start behind the plate in a non-league game, big environment. Hey, let's see what he's got. Up to the challenge, and then the rest is history. He did the same at the high school level, did the same at the college level. Talk about, what it takes to, no matter where you're at, what setting, what coach. It's the first time he'd ever played for me. This year at LR, Coach Ramirez didn't recruit you. Coach Fleenor, recruited you. Yeah. No matter who it is, what the environment is, like what you have to do to give yourself a chance to compete and earn a spot day one. Talk about that for us.
I think this is another thing that, I was blessed that my dad helped instill to me from the time I started playing sports. And I think the best way to put it is maybe winning every day, and not losing every day. And, I still do that. It doesn't matter if you're the number one recruit in the nation or you've never touched a field. If you're going out there every day and you play your game to the best of your ability at 100%, your good things are going to happen. There's you hear sayings like people saying like, it's just funny how baseball works. I'm blessed that, there's a lot of things that had to work out that allowed me to get a chance and get the opportunity, but I also needed to be ready for that opportunity. And, if you're not working every day to prepare yourself for the time when it is your chance to take advantage of it, then it's going to slip through your fingers. And on the flip side of that, the year you were talking about when I first played Legion ball, the first ever Legion game I played in, we were down in Rowan County playing at Catawba's Field, and I was 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. And I still think about that day, and my dad talks about it a lot because everybody was like, "Dude, you're crazy. Like you're you're not going to play. Like it's like these guys are way older. Why don't we just, like play travel and get your reps in?" But I think the biggest thing is don't get discouraged. You know, how you respond to negative situations also dictates where you're going to fall if that opportunity ever comes again. Are you going to let that define you, or are you going to work to come back for it so that the next time that opportunity is given, you're ready for it? And I think that's the biggest thing, is just being ready for your opportunity is the
Yeah.
biggest thing.
Yeah, and that's huge. And I'll be honest, in this whole conversation, to me, players who are listening, I think that's the biggest takeaway. Whether it's back with the recruiting process, whether it's once you're on campus or on the team, is like you're saying, it's a every single day thing. Win today, right? There's no scoreboard on in that facility, but go win today. We don't have many days to lose. I remember Coach Meyer at Ohio State, big Urban Meyer fan, and the way he does things with his team. And he's got a clip. They were at training camp when he first got to Ohio State, and that was his whole talk: is we don't have days to lose, right? We can't get behind the 8 ball. Go win today. And the other thing is, it's not a matter of getting ready like that. That's what I'm hearing. Oh, I got a camp I'm going to. Let me get ready. Or the season's coming up. It's January. We're back on campus. Let me get ready. It's constantly staying ready. If you're always prepared, you'll never have to get prepared. That's a huge takeaway.
Someone asked me, my buddies, the other day, who I'm in there with, and they were like, like, are you guys? They're talking to us. We were saying how some of our summer ball season is coming up, and someone asked us, they were like, I mean, are you guys? They asked us that exact question. They're like, are you guys ready? Like, could you guys like go out and play baseball right now? And I think to answer that question for myself and a lot of my teammates, because I know what they're doing, is yes. I mean, if someone called and said, hey, we got a baseball game at 5 o'clock tonight, I think a lot of us would be ready to suit up and go play and not bat an eye, because you can't just wait around until it's like, all right, now it's time to start getting ready for baseball season. No, you're always working. It should never be, waiting around until it's time to do it. It's just always ready to happen.
That's awesome. Let's talk, man. I know you're a busy guy. I won't keep you forever. Let's talk about a couple more things. One thing I want you to touch on is we got a lot of catchers coming in the organization. We got a lot of guys who are catching guys for the first time. Talk about as a catcher, really being the manager of that pitching staff. And I know just at LR, just with seeing some of the guys you come in with, you got a guy from Australia, you're dealing with the local guy. You're dealing with the guy from thousands of miles away. You're dealing with the, soft lefty who can put it where he wants. You're dealing with the closer who's coming in, throwing at 90 plus. Like, talk about managing personalities, managing all these guys, and kind of being their one constant behind the dish.
I think it first starts with, and a lot of younger kids. I was talking to another catcher who was in college, and we were with a high school catcher, and the high school catcher said, man, I hate bullpens. And me and the other catcher, we didn't even know each other. We just turned and smiled at one another and just kind of chuckled, because bullpens are probably one of the most important things for a catcher. From one, training yourself. You get in-game reps. you get thousands of pitches. You can work on framing, you can work on blocking, you can work on receiving. I mean, you get hundreds of reps a day catching bullpens doing that. The second thing is understanding your pitchers, because what better way than when they're practicing? And, you know, how are you going to know how to receive them or how they're going to pitch in a situation if you don't understand what their ball does? You know, because one pitcher's ball might run and another person's might cut. Or when they throw a slider, it's a sharp one, or the other one, it's the kind of loopy one. And so you got to find those nuances in the game and in your pitchers, you know, in the bullpen. And I think that's where it starts. And any pitchers listening, don't shoot me because we love you. But pitchers are weird. Pitchers are different animals. They're just a different breed, and you have to learn every single one. And you know, that's another thing that I started to learn in high school and learned a lot in college is every pitcher operates different, whether it's their warm-up routine, how they like you to set up, what you got to say to them. You know, I tell some people, I feel like catchers should get a psychology degree just for catching, because you deal with so many pitchers. And again, that's something you can learn in the bullpen, how pitchers react to different situations. Does one pitcher react to the upbeat, let's go, hoorah speech? Or does he react to the, like, hey man, it's time to, like, what are you thinking about for dinner tonight? Like, what, you know, people always say that and we laugh, but some people, that's how it works for some people. And as a catcher, you got to find that. And I think that goes back to the leadership aspect that we spoke on earlier. You have to find what works for each person. And that's what truly makes you the field general. And again, that's something that I'm still trying to improve every day. And, but I think the biggest takeaway from that segment is bullpens. Take your bullpen seriously.
Yep. No, that's awesome. And to me, you know, the whole thing is just screaming relationships. You know,
yes,
there's a person back there who's able to give feedback, who's able to talk through things. You know, Bryce Stober doesn't want his pitchers throwing into a 9-hole catch net. He wants to be the guy back there because there's a bond being formed. There's nuances you're talking about that you're learning, you know, and then turn around, you know, now all of a sudden that guy wants to throw to Bryce Stober. Hey, coach, I want that guy catching me because he's back there. He knows me. I'm comfortable with him. And, you know, our guys are starting to get that. I'm seeing that more and more, like, you know, our two older guys. Very rarely will you see pins get thrown in there where Caleb Madison or Josh May isn't back there catching. And that's awesome. You know, you can't replace that. So I agree. Bullpens are huge, and I hope our catchers really hear that, take it to heart. I want to finish up here. Obviously, you know, the pandemic and the shutdown has affected everybody. We've talked to a lot of coaches about their side of things. Want to hear it from a player. So, man, you were, you know, had won a job as a freshman. You guys were starting to click. You know, you go down to Catawba, win a Friday night game. That was huge. They're top 5 in the nation at the time. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom. So kind of take us through that, you know, how it all unfolded, maybe how your plans this summer have changed, kind of what you're doing. You know, people are getting their year back. Where are you at with all that? Kind of fill us in from a player's perspective the past 3 months and then going forward.
Well, you know, it was tough because as you said, our team was rolling. We were starting to get hot right at that halfway point. You know, and it was hard to just kind of abruptly end like that, especially when you felt like something special was coming on. And it was tough, and it was tough leaving your teammates and all that. So it was definitely hard. And then you're left with uncertainty. Like no one knew what was going to happen. So the only thing you could do was just work and try to get better and use the time to get bigger and stronger and faster and work on the swing, work on the things that you couldn't necessarily focus on during the season or change during the season. And so me and my teammates really just tried to take as much advantage of this time and not make it like woe is me, our season's over, we have nothing to do now. But we try to say like, hey, you know what? It is what it is. Let's go get better so we can win a national championship next year. Like it's time for us to turn into turn into beasts and go win a natty next year. And you know, it's college baseball right now is gonna be an interesting place because
Say the least.
yes, and because I mean, you know, everybody gets their year back. So the fifth year senior who was raking, he's got a chance to come back now. You know, with me, I played half of my freshman season, and you know now I get a chance to play 4 more years of baseball in college, and you know it's going to affect a lot of things. You know, we got a lot of new guys coming in. People are going to be transferring. Rosters are going to increase, and you know, so that you know kind of goes back to what we spoke on earlier. It's time to everybody's got to go back out and win their job back again. There's no guarantees, and that's how it is for every year, no matter if the corona was here or not. Uh, every season, you start from scratch, and you got to go back out and win a job. And
That's so true, man. Let me stop right there and hit on that. I'm so glad you said that. And that's something that, our guys need to hear and understand is, Bryce Stober wins the job. Bryce Stober is LR starting catcher as a freshman. I don't know this. I would imagine Coach Ram probably recruited a catcher in the next class. There's probably going to be one in the next class. And Bryce has to go win that job every single year. There's constant competition. Nothing's given. It's all earned. So glad that you hit on that because it's so true.
And you can't get complacent. And I think that was the biggest thing during this time is complacency. It's easy. They're telling us to stay home. Hey, stay home. Don't leave. Okay, I'll just sit on the couch watch Netflix, eat Doritos. That's easy. That's the easy thing to do. But the hard thing is finding ways to get your workout in, finding ways to throw, finding ways to long toss, finding ways to get swings off the tee. And that's not just during Corona time, but that's every day. Summertime. I mean, hey, it's a beautiful day. Let's go to the lake. That's easy, right? That's easy. What's tough is, hey, I gotta get my work in. My buddies might be out having fun tubing, but I know it's time to get my work in.
Yeah.
But if it's, I think, this might sound cheesy, but if it's something you love, that decision shouldn't be hard.
That's right.
That decision shouldn't be hard. You should, me and my buddies are excited, and we know that we have to get our work in every day, whatever it may be, before we could do whatever else it is that we want to do. If we want to go see a movie, we know we got to go get our lift in before we go see a movie. And that's just how it is.
That's right. Priorities, because it's important to you. It matters. And that's so good. Man, this has been awesome. This has been particularly for our players, man, listening to this. If folks aren't just soaking this up and taking advantage, something's wrong with them. This has been awesome. I am going to wrap it up. I know you're a busy man, but I do want to give you a chance for any final thought, any final words that you might leave, particularly our high school players, guys who are right there, on the brink of all this we're talking about. What would you leave them with?
I think one important thing that, again, I've gone back to my dad a few times, but that he had me do when I was younger, and I've carried it out to this day, is setting goals. And not just setting them in your mind, but writing them down, and that's something I do before every season. And it's, it's as little as get a hit, and it's like a checklist, to earn the starting job, to hit a home run, or hit 350, whatever these goals need to be. I think that is so important, because, and write them down and put them somewhere. I always tape it to my mirror, because I see it every day, just as a constant reminder that that's what you're working for, and just kind of like, the whole eyes on the prize cliche, but it really is. If you're not locked in every day to what you're trying to do, it's really hard to make it happen. And then that just cycles back through with just hard work every day. If you can get 100% and make yourself 1% better each day, you're going to be successful.
That's awesome.
I think that's about it. Take yourself one step forward every day, and you're going to be successful.
Fantastic, man. Again, can't thank you enough for your time and coming on with us. It's been awesome catching up, having a conversation. Again, folks who are listening to this, take it to heart, man. It's a guy who's right in the midst of all this, and doing big things. He's been there, and he'll be around the facility. Reach out to him. I'm sure Bryce would love to have a conversation.
Yep.
Talk to you guys anytime. So, man, again, can't thank you enough. Folks, this has been episode 22 of Outside the Lab, powered by Under Armour. Next week on Monday, we'll have another weekend recap. We got 4 teams on the field. And then Wednesday, Friday, we'll be back to regularly scheduled podcast episodes. Until next time, thanks, Bryce.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.